Hi, investors. Nick Garner here from Invesmore, and I'm going to walk you through the onboarding process that we have in Invesmore for new clients. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, the very first thing I'm going to do is open up the tab, and then there we go. Right, as if by magic. And I'm going to just take it from the top. So overall, uh, the process is fairly simple. You would check us out, message us. We tend to do most of our property um, deliverables, let's say, on WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp groups, and I've organized it here. So you got properties that we put out. They go through a very intensive selection process. We also do renovation evaluations and so on. So we try to give as much information as we possibly can as early as we can in the sourcing cycle. And if I go back here, and so what will happen is you might find a property you like, and then you'll tell us, and then we organize a viewing, we do an assessment, we then start negotiating if you want to offer. If it's a sensible offer, I'll give you my advice on it because I'll be involved in all of that process. And if it's all good, you get offered the property, and that's how we earn our 2%. There is a bit more to it than that, of course. Um, Once the offer is accepted, there's more than just like goodbye. It's more like hello, because then we've got 2 months of working with you to get the property completion done. And we have someone who helps and specializes in property completion sales progression, and she just chases things up on your behalf. So she's fighting your corner in the sale to make sure that the deal completes. Finally, when it does complete, then we invoice you for our commission. And that's about it. Then, oh yeah, there's more. There's always more, isn't there? But anyway, there's renovations. So at that during the process, you may need to get the property renovated, and we can work with you on that. That's a whole separate story in itself, which I'm going to do a separate video on to explain that process. But overall, that's the onboarding process in summary. And now I'm going to go into it in a little bit more depth, and I hope you find it helpful. All right, let's go. Now, the first thing is the Udemy course. Now, it's very helpful to just, it's helpful for us, hopefully helpful to you if you learn a little bit about property acquisition, know what you want, and so on. And my general experience with dealing with clients is I can spot people who don't have a clue a mile away. And then we go through an education process with people. It's yeah, and in order to help people learn more quickly, I created this Udemy course, which is free. And it just goes through how to think about buy-to-let investment, buying properties, not the landlording piece, because there's lots of resources out there that'll help you, but very little on actually what to buy where. And I've got 645 students, and it's 2 hours long, and I got a 4.6 out of 5 rating, which is really cool. But then I did put a lot of work into this course, so it's really the embodiment of how we think about property. And you can also watch some of the videos. So I've got a channel here, and there's Martin, there's me, and we do a lot of property assessments. And there's just a lot of content here that you can have a read or have a watch. A lot of it's a bit repetitive, quite honestly. You know, you've seen one property assessment, you've probably seen about 20. However, there's always little things that I try to do to make them more interesting, little insights, whatever. And anyway, we do these property assessments. So that's another good way of learning about us and see how we roll. And if you like that, then I guess you kind of like us. that's roughly how that goes. And by then, you'll know whether you want to work with us or not, I hope. So then you might complete the fact finder, or you just message me or email me. That's how you can go about that. And as I said, WhatsApp is a big favorite. You could even telephone me and have a conversation with me. I don't always pick up because often I'm on the phone. But anyway, the point is you can reach out. Then we would do a show and tell. If you watch some of the YouTube videos, that is kind of us showing and telling, but maybe you want to tell us exactly what you think. And in this case, we would show you our property system, and it's all very fancy, it does lots of fancy stuff. But broadly speaking, what we do is we do something called scraping, and we get about 2,000 new properties in every night, and we have an archive of properties. So I think we're up to some 1.4 million, 1.5 million properties, something like that. It's an awful lot of property. And anyway, it all goes into the system. There's lots of very scientific stuff going on. And just looking through it here, we've got lots of property. Anyway, lots of data, lots of property, and it all gets munched into the system. And then we filter out data. So this isn't the map that the guys use, but we knock out about 85, 90% of properties that we're not interested in. And then we're left with 150 to 200 properties that we review every night. And the end product is that we have a group that we share with. And here's the group, or here's the group, the NDA group, and here's some properties that we're sharing. Anyway, back to the onboarding process. That's roughly how that works. So we explain all this to you. We then ask you to complete the NDA, and we've got a copy of this here. It looks like kind of that. But what we do is we use something called EverSign. You electronically sign the document, and that means it's all legally verifiable, and it's very easy to sign, and it's very easy for us to sign, and everyone's happy. Then you get included in the WhatsApp group, which I just showed you earlier, this one, and you can see what's coming through, and then talk to us and go, I like this one. What do you think? Whatever. To have a conversation with us. We're here. We have 4 groups, I think, and I think we've got outside the NDA group, I think we've got about 450 people. So you could just join any of the groups. It's kind of public, and have a look, see what's coming through. But the information is anonymized because we need you to sign the NDA. And once it is, then we're all good to go. And then we have property that we like, as I said, and here are some criteria. It varies, but here are some basic criteria. We have lots of criteria for viewings, and then we organize the viewings, and here we have hundreds of viewings that we've done in the past, and we use Viewer, and they send a report, and that's all good. And then the next thing is that we let's just do this, go here. And so we have a process for booking a viewing, and this explains it all. But in short, we book the viewing with Viewer, we pay them £45, they send a report through, and then we assess the property based on its condition. But we look at a whole lot of other things, and it's all here. You can watch any of these videos, like any video with an address there, that one. That'll explain exactly what we're doing and how we assess properties and what we look for and so on. Anyway, moving on. Once the assessment is done, you might want to make an offer. Now, the other thing I want to say is that in the viewings, we'll refund you the viewing cost if you get a completion. So we charge typically 2%. And our pricing is here. It's all super straightforward and transparent. There you go. And you can see that the more expensive the property, the less the commission is as a percentage of buy price. But if it's really cheap, it's more. You see, you can see it sliding around, the numbers changing. Anyway, and therefore you know exactly where you stand on pricing and costs and so on. And what will happen is that if you buy a property and it completes and it's £3,600, but you spent, say, £400 on viewings in total because you had lots of viewings to do, you know, you made lots of different offers on properties and assessings, then then what happens is that we offset that cost against your commission, which is good because that way, ultimately, we pay for the viewings. But the idea is that every time you pay for a viewing, it's a little bit of extra trust with you to us. So we know you pay your bills, we have more confidence in you, and that means that we will work harder to find you a property and we will get there in the end. And that's what a lot of that's about. There's a bit of psychology in here, but there it is. Okay. Now the next thing is we do the viewings, make an offer. This is a really important point about the booking of viewing and or making an offer, should I say. We need to get your documentation sorted out. And I have done a video. There's me talking, saying this is what we do. So I've explained it all here ad nauseum. It's very important that you're organized with this stuff. And the reason is that when the offer is on, when you've done the viewing, the agent typically wants to close the sale as quickly as possible to get everyone all flustered. And everyone's like, and I end up having to ask a million questions. So I created this web page to explain why we need documentation, what documentation we need, and I even did a questionnaire. So ideally, you would complete the questionnaire, tell me all the stuff I need to know, do all these reminders. Yes, have you sent me your ID? Have you sent me your proof of address, etc.? Now, there's a critical reason for this, and it's called a memorandum of sale. That offer when a property offer is accepted, then the estate agent will issue a thing called a memorandum of sale, and it looks a bit like this. And it's all the information that each party needs to know in order to commence the conveyancing process. And if you're organized, then you send me your documentation, and then I add it all into this lovely offer email. And I attach all the documents to the email and so on. And then the estate agency person gets all the stuff and they make the offer to you. Then they have everything they need to send a memorandum of sale. And what that does is it shows that you're organized and that and also the email. Let's go and find that email again. That offer email, it tells a story about you. And most people, when they make offers, they just say, I want to offer this, and that's it. And it's just a name and a number. But if I send an offer out with all this stuff, remembering that it's all confidential anyway, because all estate agents are bound by confidentiality agreements and so on, it's all confidential anyway. But what they can immediately see is that you're a strong buyer, you're organized, they know a little bit about you, and it helps them kind of get to understand you, get to know you a little bit. You've never talked to them, but now they know who you are, what you like, and so on. They see your documents and such. And then if they like you, they will then go ahead and say, look, I think you should take the offer from whoever it is. From via Nick, and that's how we get a very good hit rate on offering on property, because we do this preparation. Now the good thing is that once this letter is done, your documents don't need to be updated every single offer. I've got them all, and I just copy and paste and change the name of the property to another property, and I make another offer, and we carry on. So it makes it really easy once it's done. And documents don't need to be updated that often. As long as the document is less than 3 months old from origination, we're all good to go. And therefore, we can just get on with it and make offers. And what I find is that once you once you get into the habit of making offers and being decisive, then it's really easy. And we have these conversations on WhatsApp with clients. It's like, well, here's the assessment. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I like it, or I don't. Fine. But whatever we do, we give our honest opinion about the property. Go and have a look at some of the videos, you'll see. And then that way, we do our best to be absolutely objective about the property, so you know that it's a good one or not or whatever. And what we care more about is not so much that you buy that property, it is that you will buy a property through us because you trust us, because our opinions are trustworthy, because those opinions are based on objective thinking around the data we've got and our cumulative experience in this business in assessing property. Anyway, right. So yeah, you want to offer and all that, and then we go through all of that. And there's another, I've talked about the assessment. And then if you want to do the offer, great. Like I said, properties go quickly, therefore be on point, therefore have all your documentation sorted out. And if they accept the offer, that's wonderful, but it's only a milestone. There's a long way to go. And uh, in the offer process, so once the offer is done, there's a few things that then go on. First, get a survey sorted out, then get your mortgage application underway if you're borrowing from a lender, and get your conveyancing lawyer appointed and up and running. Now, we would already have had a provisional agreement that, yeah, this conveyancing lawyer is the one that you're going to work with because you like them for whatever reason, or the bank that you're lending from prefers this lawyer, that lawyer, whatever. Anyway, you get the lawyers sorted out, get them up and running, and the other job to do, which I haven't really talked about in any great detail here, but I will, is renovations. I'm kind of getting that sorted out, but we don't have to deal with that for a while. Now, in the background, we've got our manager who processes all the conveyancing. Her name is Helen, and Helen's done this for a very long time, and her job is to work with the estate agents, the lawyers, the sellers' lawyers, everybody to make sure that the thing is progressing properly, because there's lots of reasons a deal falls through. And if there's a serious problem or whatever and needs firefighting, I can get involved. But generally, Helen has this covered, and she's working for you on your behalf for free or as part of our consultancy percentage. So you get a lot of value from us. Anyway, she does her thing, and typically with condition surveys, I really like to go through them, do a video and assess them, partially because I like to put them on YouTube. It's kind of helpful, and I always leave a time lag, by the way. But it's very hard to get good information on how surveys work, so I figure if I share some of these videos, it'll help you. But in any event, you get a video from me going, this is what I think is going on. Renovation is a thing I've been around, and again, I'll talk about that in a minute. And then obviously the finance, you get that underway. There are lots of options there. Sometimes the finance providers want a survey, that's fine. But in the end, you get your money, and you know it's all done. So you're undergoing this conveyancing process. I've tried to make it like on this page linear, but in reality, it's concurrent. There are lots of concurrent themes that go on. Anyway, renovations is a big one. Big topic. But in short, nearly every property needs renovation, so we have to be really organized with that. And I've been sorting that out. I'm going to do a web page on how we handle renovations, but in summary, we organize a viewing. The renovator that we like best for that project, we've got four people, different parties we tend to work with. They go and take a video of the property, assess it. We do a Skype call with them, go and assess that, talk it through, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Now, I've been around this building game for a while. I used to have a renovations company back in the day. Then I got into other things like the internet and all that kind of stuff. I know a bit of a random story there, but uh, yeah, I was in the building business. Tough game. But in the meantime, when I started doing other things, I also did my own new builds. So I'm speaking to you from the house that we built ourselves, and I've done lots of big renovations on our own account for our own property portfolio, which my wife and I have. So anyway, moving on, renovations, big deal, very important, and I've put a lot of effort into getting that right. Now, Martin, who works with me, is a qualified surveyor as well, and he knows a lot about building. So between us all, we kind of know our way around, and we work really closely with our contractors. And as I say, we all muck in and we help. And I put a framework around this, which means that you're protected and so on. So that will turn into a web page, which I'll talk about later. Next thing is you got tenants to find. So done the process, you've done the renovation. Now, before the renovation and so the way it'll work is you organize renovations before completion. So you're all ready to go and everyone knows exactly what they're in for. And then completion occurs, and if it's all done about right, you should be able to get the renovators in pretty much straight after completion. Now, during that time, as you kind of move towards completion, it's important to get the lettings management people sorted out. Now, if it's Greater Manchester, I generally recommend Layla, who works with us. If it's outside Manchester, it could be somebody else. But the idea is see what Layla can do on that. Now, our shareholders are a company called Charles Louis Group. They have a subdivision called or division called Charles Louis Homes. Layla works there, and uh, she's a long-standing experienced lettings manager and heads up lettings for that business. So she's really good. But go and check other people out, whatever. But we're just trying to help. Anyway, that's that. So you get the property let out. It will be very easy to let out these properties. The reason we, as a matter of course, we only recommend properties which are very, very rentable. It's just a thing because ultimately we, I guess we share the properties that I would personally want to own or Martin would want to own. These are properties we like, and therefore, as I said, we tell our truth. Now, other people may have other opinions, but we think the properties are good. Our clients seem to really like them, and they've done very well with them so far. So, uh, and that's really because we're very thorough. Again, if you just watch some of the videos, you'll just see us in our everyday kind of behavior, and you'll see how we look at stuff. And if you're happy, great. Now, moving on. We've done the tenants, and then everything gets done. You pay the property, do the stamp duty, all of that, and now you own the property. You do the renovation work. You get your tenants in situ, but remember that you can already do a lot of work to find tenants before completion, and it's a very good idea just to set the lettings agent up and so on. And same with renovations. You get a lot of stuff set up for completion. Then when completion happens, you can get straight into it, get the renovations done, get them finished, get the tenant in, and off you go. And quite often we find that you can rent the property out before the property's even renovated. I know it's crazy, but there's so much demand. But the key to good property investment isn't just renting it out quickly. It's finding a property where the values are going up and where you get really good tenants who pay good money, so you get a good yield. And then you have the ongoing stuff, and if you get it right, you get lots of capital growth. And this is one of the things I kind of obsess about. So again, have a look at some of the videos where I talk about this in some detail. But the short of it is I am constantly evaluating capital growth and kind of thinking and working out where we're at where things are moving, and I use data to help me work all this out. It's it's kind of an art and it's a science as well. Uh, and obviously we're also interested in rental yield because that's kind of critical, and rental demand. But as I say, we tie it all together, and I think as a general rule, I would say we do, as a general rule, we tell our truth about property. And we always tell our truth about property, but what I'm trying to say is that we desensationalize property investment. So a lot of people talk about like, oh, if you get into property, you'll make fortunes and so on. But in reality, most people make a loss. They might make a nominal gain, but with inflation, typically most investors don't do great. And it's because they don't really pay attention to the fundamentals like capital gain and yield and stuff. And they're not particularly methodical about it. And a lot of the time it's because they can't be, because maybe they just don't know enough about this kind of stuff. And that's where we help because, well, we're very methodical. And I feel like we are good at reading the situation and reading the market and giving you our best advice as to what to do. And it's the kind of advice that I would take on board personally with my own portfolio. So it's like what's good for you is good for me. And broadly, that's it. So I hope that's helpful. Again, finally, there's a lot of detail in this stuff. So it's not like just, give me your money, I'll make you a fortune. It doesn't really work like that. You get involved, you make judgments. If you know what you're doing, it's great. If you're delusional, we get a lot of delusional investors turning up. Uh, it's a bit difficult, but we'll help you, and we'll help you get through this and help you make really good decisions on purchasing. And as you see, we do a lot for our money, and I think we are very good value. And I hope you feel that too. All right, then. Thank you very much.